Good morning, and welcome to Grief Support Group. I am your host, Alex Piscatelli, and this is your number one favorite radio show on Thursdays at 9 a.m. Pacific time, where I talk all things pop culture, my research on grief and media, and I answer your advice questions. Okay. Well, you know I have to do a weather report because... What else am I going to talk about in the very beginning? I have to ease into it, okay? It's kind of like foreplay. I don't know. Anyway, so it's sunny out right now, okay, but it's cold. So my fingertips are cold. I'm sweating otherwise. Mustache sweat is going. But you know what? We're feeling good. We're feeling good. It's a beautiful morning. We're in March, and we're ready to talk about many, many things today. So what I must discuss is I'm actually sure I'm going to be talking about Survivor a little bit. Wasn't in the plan per se, but I do have some things to say. Then I have some thesis updates for you all. Then I'm going to be talking related to that a little bit about young adult fiction because I have something to say about that, and I think it overall relates to my thesis as well. Then I have some advice questions. So someone sent in, I don't know if it was one person or two, they sent in some questions about the pain, the utter sheer pain of pursuing and being pursued romantically. So we'll discuss those. And then we also have a question about life being too short. So I don't want to be friends with my friends' friends. So we'll get to that too. But first, it's been a good week. I've certainly had worse, and so we're here, we're feeling good. Yeah, it's really interesting. Because I know I talked last week about like the social anxiety of it all, and I've actually been like really, really reframing the way I think about like being anxious socially, because I think I discussed how like I get socially anxious, and I'm like, wait, was I being weird? Like, hold on. Was I being weird? Like, but I am trying to really reframe that because I didn't used to feel that way. I used to feel very without shame, no shame. And now I've been feeling a lot of social anxiety. I would say pandemic mixed with losing my mom. And so, yeah, I'm reframing it. And I don't know if this is like a Saturn return thing or I'm no longer, I realize, pushing 29.75. I'm now pushing 29.85. I did pass 29.75, unfortunately, if I'm doing my math correctly. So yeah, we're not pushing 30 yet. But yeah, I think getting to that age, you start to be like, you know what? None of this matters. I feel like it doesn't matter. Like, and it's not that I'm like being rude to people or anything. Like, I love people. I'm a social butterfly. I love being around people. I love saying anything, as you can tell. I spend all this time in front of this mic and I don't stop talking. But I think sometimes in social interactions, like I overthink because I want everyone to have a good time more so, where I'm like, oh my God, did I make that person like comfortable? Like, did I like leave that person out? Did I say something that was like off-putting to this particular, like it's kind of that, but I've been not caring anymore. And that's why I want to discuss, because I know some people don't like the small talk of talking about the weather. I love talking about the weather. And because I've been kind of analyzing my social conversations, not in a anxious way, but in a just thinking about it way, just like, I'm an analyzer. I love analysis. I've always loved analysis. And so being in grad school, it's been really fun to continue to analyze. I just love to analyze, you know what I mean? And so I'm going to be doing that in every social interaction regardless. Am I doing it in a judgy way towards myself? No. However, I have noticed that I do love talking about the weather. And again, it just eases into any conversation. You can say anything and you almost get insight into like how that person's day is going by how they think about the weather. Okay, because when it was all cloudy and rainy and weather that I don't like and weather that was making me not feel mentally well, other people were like, wait, I love this weather. Like, it feels, I love the rain. I love the clouds. It feels great. And I love that because then you're getting an insight into them and their day. Like, they're not only their personality or not only their day, but their personality. Like, you're really getting to know someone by hearing how they talk about the weather. So when I talk about my fingers being cold and my armpits and feet being sweaty, like, you get to learn that I have hyperhidrosis. Okay. Anyway, so I feel a little bit free, being less socially anxious. So that's my latest update of being 29.75. Okay, so I have two things I want to talk about at the front of this show. First and foremost, and I swear I won't get that into it, but Survivor. And let me say this too. So I had guest lectured this week for one of my best friends is teaching a class at San Diego State, which is both of our alma maters. Love San Diego State, love it. Unfortunately, I guest lectured over Zoom, so I didn't get to be on campus. But always love talking with students. Everywhere, but love students at SDSU in particular, just because I can like imagine myself being there, right? And so I had guest lectured for her class. And it was really, I feel like I was thinking about the social anxiety of it all there, because I used to get really nervous guest lecturing, of course, because it's like you want to be seen as an expert and whatever. But I feel like really confident in myself as of late. And like, again, it was over Zoom, so like I don't know if I would have felt shaky if I was in person, say. But like, because I get shaky pretty easily, but like I was just like, I was so cool, calm, and collected. And I was in the library here because I had just like gotten off work, so I just like set up my computer and whatever at the library, and like I had my headphones on, and I am someone who's loud. Like I can't tell how loud I'm being, but I was like, you know what? I was being conscientious, I swear. But I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna like be embarrassed. Like people in this section of the library are talking, like I'm just gonna do my thing. And I felt like I was being really like myself, and it was fun to talk about my experiences and talk about it from the point of view of now, because like I've done this in a few other classes, and of course when I introduced myself to like the class I was teaching and the one I'm kind of like TAing for this semester. But I've never like spent a dedicated hour just talking about myself and like my career up to this point. And one of the questions, I forget if a student asked it, Adriana might have asked this to me, my friend who's the instructor, but she asked something like, oh, like what is kind of, because like you've done all these different projects, because like of course I've worked multiple jobs, whether they're all like social media in some capacity, some more from the news standpoint, being at like e-news and KPBS and newsrooms, and some on the agency side and working with clients, and now like nonprofit clients. And then also like my creative projects have gone from dating to like a news and pop culture thing to grief and media. So I've done all these kind of like projects and other stuff in between, like my anonymous dating blog and whatever, like all these projects, right? Which like I think oftentimes I can fear people think I'm like all over the place. And Adriana asked a really interesting question where she was like, what do you say to someone who like feels like you've done all these things? Like what I forget her question, but the way I answered it was, I was like, you know what? Like I used to worry about that people thought I was so all over the place and couldn't focus on something. But the truth of the matter is I've always had a through line. For me, I've always cared, no matter what I've done, on like the human experience, and like it's always about the human experience, and it's always about like the way we relate to media and to each other and to the world. So like you can look at, say, dating, or at least trying, my previous dating podcast, and you can look at grief support group and grief and media, and they're two sides of the same coin. Like love and life and death and grief, they're also interrelated. And yeah, I don't know. It was just interesting to be asked that question and to really reflect on it. But like, I guess what I have to say, as I'm have turned 29.75, is I feel really proud of myself. And so one thing I wanted to share, actually, and then I'm going to talk about Survivor, because I did tease it. One thing I actually wanted to share is that, as you all know, didn't get into the 2 PhD programs, which I've really come to terms with. Like I'm cool with it. Honestly, like I think I always said I wanted to stay in California rather than apply to more programs. I specifically only applied to 2 when a lot of people apply to a lot more. And I didn't get in. And now what that means is I get to stay in the Bay Area. Yay. And what that also means is I get to, one, focus on getting teaching positions, which I'm looking into, and maybe may have one in the fall. And don't want to announce anything formally yet. But I also get to work on my creative projects, and y'all know how much I love doing grief support group and everything that falls under my grief and media bucket. So yeah, my idea is that I really want to do something visual media, and I want to interview people about a piece of media, whether it be a film or an album or a song or a show that helps them like process their own grief. And yeah, I'm going to launch it, I think, in April. I'm like starting to do the planning process now. Obviously, I have my thesis to worry about, but more updates to come there. I'm super excited about it. I did hold an all hands meeting with friends over the weekend to discuss this idea. So it's in the works. I have things going on. So I'm excited to share more. Okay. Now let me talk about Survivor, and it's really funny because after guest lecturing, like me and one of the students have been messaging on LinkedIn about Survivor, which like I actually think it's really important to use LinkedIn for fun. Like I'm sorry, in the age of AI, like if LinkedIn, it can either sound really professional and sound AI or people using AI, or we can make it fun. And so I'm ready to make it fun. Anyway, so Survivor 50 is happening, which I discussed last week a bit, but the second episode premiered last night. And the thing about Survivor and the thing about good reality TV, let me say that, the thing about good reality TV is you can't just be, I mean, I guess you can. There's casual fans, right? But you can't just be a random passerby, right? Like when a reality show that I really like is airing and is current, it becomes a part-time job. And let me explain. So Survivor last week was 3 hours, okay? Last night it was an hour and a half, so it wasn't too crazy. But I am subscribed to 2 different Survivor podcasts. Like, not just subscribed, I am a paid subscriber to 2 different Survivor podcasts, which means there's multiple hours of podcasts coming my way. Not only that, but this morning I woke up to texts from East Coast family and friends saying, did you watch Survivor? Or did you watch the episode? So I also, I have the show to watch, which is already long, and then I have podcasts to listen to, and then I have interpersonal communication to be part of. And so, yeah, Survivor comes with a lot of things to do, and I love it. It's a part-time job. You know when you meet someone older and they're retired and they're like, oh, I want to work at like the library or whatever, just to like interact with people. Like, that's the kind of job that Survivor is to me. I love it. Like, I love what I learn from it and how I get to interact with the world, right? And like, you could be someone who only watches the episode of Survivor every week and no other interaction with the Survivor world. However, I equate that to like coming to class and not doing the reading. Like, I really like partaking in the reading. I like to do my homework. I like to watch the episode with all the factors that I need to watch it with. I like to have all the information at hand, and and then I get a better discussion as a result. So yeah, we're in a time of Survivor, but I don't mind it. But I think this season has been really great so far, and it's a returner season, as I mentioned, which they haven't done since in 6 years. So it's been really fun. I recommend it to anyone. I feel like when Survivor is good, life is good. Like, I've noticed the past 10 seasons, a little more than that, have not been good, and I'll tell you, life has been bad, okay? And so we're in a really, really fun time. I haven't had a fun Survivor season really since 2019. So it's feeling great. My only gripe with it is like, I'm really enjoying people on the show like Christian Hubicki, and I'm enjoying, of course, Q, and yeah, but one thing I'm really bothered by is why women are so under-edited on Survivor, and that's usually been the case. I feel like Jeff Probst is getting better, but like, I feel like he's always like had a lot of misogyny, and especially in earlier seasons you see it. But yeah, like there's people like Dee and Tiffany and Camilla and Angelina, who I think, and Chrissy, who I think all collectively got like one confessional this episode. Meanwhile, Christian, I think, had like like 13 or something. And so it's definitely an issue. And I don't think these characters, I guess I'll say, through the lens of like the entertainment television show, I don't think these characters aren't bringing anything to the show. I think it's just they are being under edited. I don't know if, I mean, there's definitely a man winner. I'll say that. I think a man is definitely winning this season. But yeah, it's unfortunate to see like all the men get all this airtime and all the women not. But I mean, other than that, I do feel like it's been a really fun season, and I hope the show and production sees that people are having a lot of fun with it and they switch it up, because I think the reason why it's fun is because there's bigger tribes. There's 8 people per tribe, where the whole new era they've only been doing 6 people per tribe. So I think we're making money moves. We need more returners. We need more characters that are going to bring like something interesting to the table and not just be like, oh, we all get along, like it's fun. Like, we need some drama and conflict. I think that's what makes good reality TV. I think that's why we're all here, right? So yeah, that is my Survivor update of the week. So you are listening to Grief Support Group. We are going to get into our first music break. Well, I guess second, because you heard Lord before, right? But once we come back from the break, we are going to get into my thesis update. I actually have something to say, okay? And then we're going to talk about like young adult fiction and, well, my favorite book, but also just some thoughts on it. Then we have some advice questions for you. So let's take a music break first, and then we'll get right into it, okay? Welcome back to Grief Support Group. I'm your host, Alex Piscatelli. You just heard Spin, Megan Thee Stallion, Victoria Monet, and you heard Dance With Me, Bruno Mars. That is from his new album. Really, really great new album, okay? I need to give it more listens, but I think Dance With Me is my favorite from the new album. Okay, so we are in the point of the show now where I do my thesis update and then I talk about a little bit of something, right? But yeah, let me first get into my thesis update, and then it'll lead to the little something that I have to talk about, which I realize is not a great preview for it, but we'll get there. So for those who don't know, my thesis is examining how fans of teen drama shows understand and interpret grief. And I have done my interviews. I really wanted that number 8. I got 7, but now I got 6, okay? Because I got 7. And they're... so I was transcribing them, okay? And I've started analysis. And my number 7 interview, when I was interviewing this person, and you know, like I had my video on for all of these, but these were audio only for them, like, so I didn't see anyone else. Well, they could see me, but I couldn't see them. So like during the call, and I think I had said this number 7 was like such a good interview, because in the moment I felt like they said a lot of good stuff. But they it's just like so ridiculous. So when they were talking, like I honestly didn't notice till like the second half of the call that they would be like, well, first this, second this, third this. And I'm like, you know what? Like some people just talk that way and like organize their thoughts in that way. So I didn't think too much about it as I was recording it, but I was like, was that AI? But I didn't think that too much in the moment, right? And I was just trying to be engaged in the conversation. When I went to transcribe it, so part of my questions I was asking, like their, like how they would describe each show and how they would describe the grief in each show, of the ones they had watched and were fans of. And, so I had asked them, because they indicated that they were a fan of Never Have I Ever. And so I asked them, like, how do you describe the grief in that? And they were talking about it, and they said the word, like, or the phrase intergenerational trauma, which, like, totally fair to say, but it's like such a specific thing to say when you're describing the show, especially when you're like, I don't know, a fan of the show, whatever. So I was like, I noticed this as I was transcribing. And then my next question was, how do you describe grief in The Summer I Turned Pretty? Because they had also indicated they were a fan of that show. And in that answer, like they started talking about how the grief is quiet. And they were like, yeah, and there was a lot of anticipatory grief, which again, you can say those things. I think that's so normal. And as someone who, like, I know very well what anticipatory grief is. I've experienced it. I mean, my mom died from cancer. I know what it is. I would never even think to describe the show in that way, like the first season, just because I would just never think that, especially when, yes, Conrad is the person, like Conrad, and then obviously like Laurel and Susanna know that Susanna's cancer is there in the first season, but a lot of them don't know. So you don't honestly see a lot of that anticipatory grief because you go directly from the first season where a lot of them don't know that she has cancer and the cancer's back to the second season where she's dead. So I just thought it was a weird way to describe it, and saying the grief in the show is quiet I thought was really specific too. So I go to AI, I go to ChatGPT to see what's up, right? And I typed in the question that I asked, and the AI said that was what the AI said is what this person answered. So I was like, okay, because I noticed in the call too, they would be like, wait, can you repeat that? Which like is not out of the norm. Like it's a Zoom call. I had other calls where like my connection I feel like was weird, or their connection was weird or whatever. So like again in the interview I didn't think about it, but I'm like, oh my god, they asked me to repeat the question so they could type it in AI. Why? Literally why? What a waste of my time. I mean, I guess not their time, because I gave participants a $10 gift card, but I was just like, oh my god. So I guess this is what happens when I don't know if this is like a normal thing that happens in research, that now you have to be worried about like AI, but I was like, oh my gosh, that really sucks. So now I'm only working off 6 interviews. However, I think all the interviews were so good. I've transcribed them. I've started analyzing. I'm really going to be putting different things into buckets of what people said. But I think it can be very easy to be like, wow, that person like really sucked for using AI and what a horrible experience. But like, I'm really grateful that I got the other 6 people who, these were all like the first 6 people I interviewed, and they all showed up, and they all like were on time for the call, and it went so easy. Like I was trying to find more interviews and it was so hard and people were not responding, but those 6, like I feel like I'm really lucky to have gotten those 6 as fast and as easily as I did. And everyone was so, I don't know, vulnerable and open, and it was really cool to hear what everyone thinks about grief and like their own personal experiences, or you know, they would talk about, like someone talked about like a neighbor and how the shows like helped them talk to their neighbor about grief, and just different human experiences like that. Again, it's all about the human experience. Haven't I been saying this? But yeah, I just thought that was frustrating and I wanted to share, but otherwise it is going well. Still on track to graduate. I think so. But still a lot more to do. Okay. So, that being said, and I was thinking about, cause a lot of, my interview respondents, my participants, discussed like how teen dramas differ from like quote adult dramas, or like what you normally think of as like a TV drama, right? And how teen dramas allow more of a deep dive exploration into all these like human moments, these human experiences, these emotions. And I thought that was a really interesting recurring theme that was in like the interviews with the participants. And it was just making me think about like young adult fiction as a whole, especially because like The Summer I Turned Pretty and some of these other like I think My Life with the Walter Boys and some of these other teen dramas come from books, right? And I saw a tweet yesterday, and this perfectly fits into what I've been thinking the last, like, because I just read one of my favorite books. Anyway, so, which I'll get to. But the tweet said there's, like, something about a 13-year-old girl and, like, her emotional support book. Or, like, her, like, it said poorly written, which, like, whatever. Like, young adult books are, like, literally trying to, like, I don't know. You know what I mean? They're trying to talk to younger audiences. So, like, who cares if it's not, like, Shakespeare, right? But it was saying, like, so, like, that idea idea of 13-year-old girls and their like emotional support book. And for me, it was a book, which I hope people know, called Before I Fall, by Lauren Oliver. And literally my favorite book of all time. I mean, I have like other like adult books or whatever that I love, but like this was the book I chose as a kid. And it is still my book, and I just read it this past week, and I love it. Like, I don't care. I love it so much. And what it is it's a book in which, like, I think they kind of based it off of Mean Girls a little bit, but like in this way, where the main character, she is, her name's Sam, and she is like, was like really like, as like a, as an elementary schooler, like was made fun of, and middle school a little bit made fun of, and then like the most popular girl in the school like took her under her wing, and now they're seniors in high school, and like they're the four most popular, like they have a friend group of four, and they're like the most popular people in school, and like they bully people around them or whatever. And you get like this insight into her high school life this first day of the book, and then at the end of the book she dies. In a car crash. They get in a car crash after a party, and like they don't know why the car crash happened or what goes on or whatever. And then she relives that day over and over and over 7 times. And then I mean, I'm sorry, this is going to be light spoilers, but this just doesn't take away from the story. Like, this is a 20-year-old book or something at this point. But it was because like someone they bullied like all throughout like had jumped in front of their car, like specifically to die by suicide in front of their car. So she's like going through these days over and over and over, and kind of like undoing her mistakes. Like she was like kind of like mean to her family and mean to different people, and she kind of relives it and like analyzes those choices, and it's like that Groundhog's Day of reliving the same day over and over and over, until at the end like she still dies, yes, which I love, because I hate when like someone's like, never mind, I didn't die, like in like Soul, Disney's Soul, because like what, like people do die in real life, why not have them die in stories too? But yeah, it ends up being like she feels better about like the way she left everything on that final 7th day. And I just find it so interesting, especially when people talk about like, oh, these books that like young girls, especially like young girls read, like are so poorly written or whatever. But I feel like there's so many themes of death and grief in a lot of the like fiction that I would read growing up, that I really love. Like, even if you think of like John Green books, and like obviously those are really, really popular, but like Fault in Our Stars and all of those, like those are talking about death and grief. Like Me, Early and the Dying Girl, like all these books, Perks of Being a Wallflower, all of them explore these things so deeply. I feel like that person said who I interviewed, it just shows this full range of emotions for teenagers or for young people, full range of emotions that we all feel, and we feel so intensely. But like, I feel like teenagers in particular just feel it, or young people, because you're like still understanding how to navigate your emotions. And as you get older, you almost mute a lot of those emotions, not because you don't feel them as hard, but because like in society, how can I like have the same outbursts that I did when I was like young, right? Which again, doesn't mean you're not feeling it as intensely, but like you have to fit your emotions better into society, if that makes sense. I don't know. I just loved how like emotions can be taken so seriously and explored so seriously in this art form. And yet as a society, we look at it as like lowbrow. And I'm curious as to why. Is it because it's media for young people? Is it because it's media for young girls and women especially? I don't know. And yeah, I don't know. It's just having me think a lot. And I really hope people read that book, because I really love it. I love it so much. But I highly recommend Before I Fall. And now, so we went to the library. It's really funny because like so I've reread that book maybe like 6 or 7 times, I would say. So not like all the time. I honestly want to read it like once a year. I feel like that's going to be my new thing, because I just love it. I love that book so much. But I was at the library yesterday with husband of Grief and Media, Jack, and I was like in the young adult section because I was looking for that author, like her other books, because I got one, like I rented it on Libby for my Kindle, but I wanted like the physical book and they didn't have it. But then I saw The Summer I Turned Pretty was there, and I've only read the third book because I read it after season 2 came out. So I was like, okay, let me read this because like, yeah, I want to read this. I'm ready. I haven't read it before. And Jack was like, wait, but you already like know the ending. Why are you like, why are you picking up that book? I said, art isn't like, you don't need to be surprised. Like, what's the point of like, sometimes you read things for the journey, not for the destination. And then I looked down because he's holding Kamala Harris's 107 Days book. And I said, you already know the ending of that. Like, why are you talking to me about my book? You know the ending of yours. Anyway, so I just think a lot of art, you're there for the journey and you're there for the explorations of emotions and you're there for all these things. And in particular, young adult books, and I love my young adult books, but yeah, I'm excited to share more findings from these interviews for my thesis because I think it really relates to what I'm talking about. And I think when you're like exploring all sides and point of views of different emotions, like if you're, for example, grief, and you're seeing the way so many different people grieve, right? Like as that AI said, quiet grief on The Summer I Turned Pretty, which I just feel like is like not true, right? Because like even people were talking about this in the interviews, but like the way like Jeremiah grieves is so different than the way Conrad grieves, and they both their mom, both of them have the experience of losing their mom when they're teenagers, but they experience it so different. And so like even with a show, you're seeing grief experience different, but then if you're seeing like multiple shows and multiple films and multiple music and all these things explore grief in different ways, then you're not going to feel alone, because someone, if we're seeing all these representations of grief, someone will share the grief that maybe not entirely, but you'll be able to see yourself in the way someone grieves in media. And so that's why I feel like it's important. And that's why, you know what, if there's like some wild characters doing things that I don't agree with, like good, that's the point. That's the point of art and media, is to like take yourself out of your own life sometimes and see how other people do things. Like, isn't that the point? Like, isn't that the beautiful thing? So anyway, that is how I feel. That is why when people said Belly was messy, I don't care. Like, do you want, what show would it be if Belly just ended up with Conrad and stayed with him the whole time? Like, what show would that be? I want to see the drama. I want to see the full range of emotion. And that is why I'm here. I want the messiness. So that is my conversation. Highly recommend Before I Fall. And now we will do a little bit of a music break, and then we'll get into our advice questions, and I will see you soon. Hello. Welcome back to Grief Support Group. I'm Alex Piscatelli, and we are in the part of the show where we get into your advice questions. Okay. So let me say this. If you want to ask an advice question for a future show, you can do so at bit.ly/KSFS advice. It's a very fun place to be. It's anonymous, okay? So this first question was actually 2 questions. And again, it's anonymous, but I can see like the time in which people submitted. So these were like 10 minutes apart, so it could be the same person. I just find it really funny. I don't know who asked this, genuinely no idea. But I love you for it. And if this is 2 separate people, which I don't think it is, y'all should date. Okay, so the first question came in as, why does being pursued romantically feel like being hunted for sport? Also, why does pursuing someone romantically feel like hunting for sport? Why can't we just frolic in the field? And then the second question was, why pursuing someone feels like letting your intestines drag behind you, unraveling inch by inch. Okay, no, that's so fair. I don't like agree with I don't agree with this mentality, but you know what, like that's so fair and that's so fine, and all points of view can be discussed here. Well, not all, but this one can be. Okay, so Yeah. Okay. So you asked, so you said being pursued romantically feels like being hunted for sport. Pursuing someone romantically feels like hunting for sport. Can't we just frolic in a field? And then the second question is why pursuing someone? Okay, so it feels like the bigger issue here is pursuing someone versus being pursued, right? Because if this really was you both entries, which no, that's so fine and so real, it seems like the pursuing someone is more what is torturing you and what is maybe keeping you up at night, at the very least making you ask a anonymous question about it. So yeah, once again, if these are two separate people, let me hook y'all up, just let me know. But if this is the same person, which I imagine it would be, okay, well, first of all, this like makes me think of something. So last week I was a guest on More Noise. They are another radio show here at San Francisco State. You can find them at More Noise FM on Instagram and morenoisefm.substack.com, I believe. But they had an episode Valentine's Day week where they talked about like yearning and like what yearning looks like for different people. And I was thinking about it a lot because for me, and I discussed this on their show, I came in for the Pop Girlies episode, but I was like, I want to talk about dating. I want to talk about yearning, okay? And for me, yearning is not something that's like abstract or, keeps me up at night or whatever. Like, to me, yearning is actionable. Like, if I have a crush on someone, whatever, like, when I was single, I did something about it. I don't just like sit and wait or let them do it. Like I like making moves. I like making actions, and I like I like when something happens. Like for example, and I didn't get to discuss this on the show because I didn't want to take over their show. But for example, oh my God, wait, I hope maybe this is weird if I say this. No, I'm going to say it anyway. I don't care. I had a really big crush in college on a friend. The reason why I said maybe this is weird, I said it because I think it'll be obvious who it is, but whatever, who cares? But I had a really big crush on one of my friends, and he didn't know it. And it was a crush I feel like it was for a while, but then I had like a college boyfriend for a few months, still having the crush on the friend, but like, then it was kind of on the back burner, obviously, because like, wait, I'm like in a relationship. But like, yeah, I still liked him the whole time. So I don't know how long the crush was. Let's just say, just for ease, a year. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to tell him I like him. I was like, okay, it's like near the end of this semester, like I'm going to tell him. And also, his sister came in town. And now I'm good friends with his sister, but this was my first time meeting his sister. And he specifically wanted me, him, and the sister to go together to dinner. I said, okay, he's in love with me, obviously, right? Because like, I was like, why me? Like, we're good friends, but like, so we have a friend group. Like, why me, you, and your sister? Like, okay. Right? And so I was like, okay, we're going to dinner and it's going to be great. And I'm going to really impress his sister. Like, she's going to love me. And then that night I'll tell him that I like him. Like, this is a whole plan. It's going to be great. Like, obviously he likes me too. So we go to dinner and then we like party that night. Right? And it's like so funny to think about. There's so many layers to this also. But him and another person in our friend group that night were like canoodling. And then like so me and his sister like were getting along, and she was like, yeah, they're dating. They've been like secretly dating for like the last few weeks. And I was like, wait, what? Like, why did he invite me to dinner with you then? I mean, I didn't say that to her, but I'm like, wait, what? And so I use this as an example. Oh, so that happened. And I was like, okay, then my crush is done. And then that was it. It was done. It was done. I never had a crush on him again. And I realized from hindsight, like, oh, we wouldn't have even been a good match anyway. But for me, I like to take action because then I like to know if it's a yes or a no. Like, are we going to continue this or am I done? And so I use that example because if I had told him and he reciprocated, then something would have happened. If I told him he didn't reciprocate, nothing would have happened. But instead, I didn't tell him, and I found out information, and then that was it. It was done. So I like to take action in my yearning. I realize not everyone is that way. And I realize not everyone can sort of like detach in that way either. And that's not to say it was like hard to like undo the crush or anything. Like it might have taken a little bit, but I feel like pretty quickly I was able to be like, okay, well, that's obviously done. Because even if they broke up, which they did, I was like, I mean, he already dated someone in the friend group. That's going to be like really insane if I like swooped in after. And so like for me, it was done. I was able to put that aside. So that's why I like my yearning to be actionable. And then obviously with husband of grief and media, Jack, like I had a little, like we had met and I went into the party where we had met being like, wait, he's so cute. Like, oh my God, I'm going to talk to him. And then I talked to him and I was like, he's kind of weird. I don't know if I'm into this. But we had like obviously like followed each other on Instagram, and you know how it goes, like flirting and DMs or whatever here and there. And then I had my dream where we were like in love. And then I DM'd him, and that was that. And the rest is history. And so for me, I like to take action. So you're asking, why does being pursued romantically feel like being hunted for sport? Why is it like the Hunger Games? Why is it your intestines dragging behind you, unraveling inch by inch? By the way, you should write poetry. I feel like that's really poetic. Would never have like even thought of that, and now I'm thinking of it, and it's just a horrendous imagery. I love it. But I think for you, yearning must be something that's pain, right? Like you're like, oh my God, it hurts to like pursue someone like this. Like, it's painful. It feels, maybe it's the pain of putting yourself out there, or the pain of not knowing if it's reciprocated, or whatever it may be. And this is going to sound like really lame advice, because I feel like we all have our sort of framework in which we approach things, and our framework in which we handle different situations because of our own personalities, our own experiences, whatever. So when I say this, I realize it's not as easy as it sounds, okay? I get that. However, I'm going to tell you it anyway. Have some fun. Have some fun. Like have fun with it. Like let go and let not, I don't know. I don't want to say let go and let God. Let go and let you. Let go and let you be uninhibited by whatever stressors and whatever framework you're approaching it from, whatever romantic like pain in the past, and whatever pick up your intestines and put them back in. You know what I mean? Like have fun with it. Feel whole. Let it like release your inhibitions and just let it roll. You know what I mean? Have fun. Again, I realize it's easier said than done, but like, I think, trying to not look at it as painful and look at it as this thing of like, oh no, my intestines, they're flapping in the wind. Like instead, like let your hair flow in the wind. Instead, let down your hair and feel good and feel in the moment and enjoy, and know that whatever comes from it, even if it's not romantic love or whatever, you can get friendship from it, you can get experience from it. Like it can be a good time. So I know it feels like the Hunger Games for you. I know it's this thing in which like your intestines are dragging, and I'm just imagining them like, maybe this is like, maybe I'm taking it too far, but like if your intestines are dragging behind you, I just imagine like rocks and pebbles on the ground like getting in your intestines. I just pick them up and feel good, get a massage, loosen up, have fun. That's all I have to say. I don't know if that's helpful. Again, I really don't know if that's helpful, because obviously I don't know what framework you're coming at this from, but try to have fun with it and enjoy. And again, if these questions were two separate people, you both need to message me and I'll get a setup happening. Okay. We're going to take one more music break, and then we're going to get into our final advice question, and I will see you in just a moment. Welcome back to Grief Support Group. I'm your host, Alex Piscatelli. We are back for our final advice question of the day. And what do we got? Well, the question says, as I have become older and wiser, I realize some of my longtime friends have friends that I don't like. I've tolerated these acquaintances for a long time, but life is too short. I hear you become more of yourself as you age, so maybe that's why I don't like these friends of friends anymore. ... Or am I obligated to like them at all? Yeah, no. Let's discuss. Okay, so you become older and wiser, as am I. I've surpassed 29.75. And yeah, you've tolerated acquaintances. Life is too short. Am I obligated to like them? And let's discuss that. And this is from the perspective of an extrovert. Okay? Don't forget that everything I say is from the framework of a social butterfly extrovert. And so, I mean business when I say this. If you don't like people, you don't have to hang out with them. No, you don't have to hang out with them. Should you be cordial? Yes, of course. But like, you don't have to, it doesn't have to be like, if you're hanging out with people and they're like, can I bring Steve? Like, they're like, I really want to bring Steve. Like, I know you and I are supposed to like get coffee, but I really want to bring Steve. Just say no. Just say, you know what? Like, I just wanted some time with just you. And, Steve can come a different time, but let's just hang out, you and I. And that's all you have to do. However, if it's like a party and your friend is like, hey, like, I'm having a party with Steve. Steve and I are co-hosting a party. Do you want to come? Then it's your choice. You can decide. Do you want to go? And in that case, I would say go. It's a party. You don't have to talk to Steve one-on-one. You don't have to talk to Steve one-on-one. And you know what? If you do, be cordial. You give them a hug or a high five or whatever you do. I'm a hugger, I guess. It's an Italian thing, I think. I just have to hug so I feel like, at what age do you become the age in which you like kiss people's cheeks? Or is it just to like the younger people in the family? I'm sure that comes soon. Anyway, give them a hug, give them a high five, give them a nod. Say, hi, Steve. Thank you for the invite. How are you? Talk about the weather. That's my trick. And then you don't have to ease into further conversation. You could just say, hi, Steve, how are you? Beautiful day we're having. And that's that. Thank you for the invite, Steve. And that's that. You don't have to be friends with your friends' friends. You have to be cordial, but you don't have to be friends. And in some cases, this depends on the friend, okay? This depends on the friend and how close you are with this friend. In some cases, maybe even you can tell the friend you don't like this friend. If this is one of your close friends, okay, here's the tiers in which you can do it. If this is one of your close friends and this is one of their close friends, and your friend is a really nice person, then you can't do it, okay? You can't say you don't like Steve. If this is one of your close friends and this is one of their close friends, but they are a smack talker, they love to gossip, you can tell them you don't like Steve, but make it curt. Don't go on and on about it. Just make it curt. Just say it simply. If this is one of your close friends, and they are just friends with Steve, like not close friends, you can tell them whether they're really nice or whether they're a smack talker. If you are friends with this person, not super good friends, and they are really close with Steve, under no circumstances can you tell them you don't like Steve. If you are just friends with them, they are just friends with Steve. Tread carefully. If they're a smack talker, you definitely can tell them. If they're like really nice and not a smack talker, then tread very, very carefully. I would err on not saying anything, because if you're just friends with them, you maybe don't know the full story of their relationship with Steve. That's what I would say. Does that make sense? I think in ways you could tell them, again, don't go on and on. Don't be like, Steve is so annoying and weird and like, I hate Steve and like, oh my God, F Steve, you know what I mean? But if it's just like, you know what, Steve isn't for me. Steve isn't for me. You can say that depending on your relationship with that friend, with person one, right? But what I would say is, don't feel like you have to be friends. If you see them in a lot of circumstances, then, be cordial, be nice, but be acquaintances. As you said you've tolerated acquaintances. It's not like you've gone deeper with them. Just continue tolerating them. But yeah, if Steve, and let me say this too. I'm gonna say this. If Steve is someone who's like a really bad person, like let's just say it's past them being annoying, like what if they're awful? Reevaluate your friendship with person one. I'm gonna say it because we are our 5 closest friends. Okay, that's what they say. We're our 5 closest people, and if you see person one being friends with Steve and Rick and all these people, you know what I mean? Like you can certainly reevaluate. So it's either tolerate or reevaluate. I would say those are the 2 biggest things. Tolerate, reevaluate, and the tiers under tolerate are smack talk or just keep it silent and tell your other friends who are not involved. Does that make sense? I hope that provides some clarity. I think it's really important to I think, that you feel like you have someone who you can talk about Steve to. I think information sharing and gossiping, again, as I always say, are such a huge part of life and really important aspects of life. It's all it is information sharing and storytelling. No one's being cruel. I hope you're not being cruel. Maybe Steve's being cruel. And in that case, F your friend who's friends with Steve. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, that's all I've got to say. I really wish I could say the F word on this show, but I can't. Okay, yeah, so that's my advice. Good luck with it. Good luck with Steve. Again, do what you need to do. Do what you need to do. Hey, person one, don't bring Steve around. That's fine. Do that. Okay, well, this has been another episode of Grief Support Group. I am your host, Alex Piscatelli. If you want to ask an advice question for a future show, you can do so about love, life, death, grief, friendship, Steve, whoever and whatever you want to talk about, intestines. You can do so at bit.ly/KSFS advice. That is bit.ly/KSFS advice. It is anonymous, and I have no idea who submitted these. Okay, well, thank you all. I hope you have a great rest of your week. Enjoy the sunshine. If you are not in a place with sunshine, enjoy every step along the way. Okay, I will see you all next week live on KSFS Thursday at 9 a.m. Pacific time, or I'll see you on the app. I'll see you on the podcast app. Okay, see you later. Bye.